One of the things that we do at Pixar, and I know some things about Pixar, is we use improv as a mechanism of helping with collaboration. And in that, two core principles of improv have always guided us. The first is accept every offer. So if an improviser says to you, gee, it's funny, it's raining a lot in here today. You don't go, raining in here. You say, well, that's why they gave us umbrellas. It's an offer. You don't know where it's going to go. But the guarantee you have is that if you don't accept that offer, it goes nowhere. So you've got a sure thing on one hand, dead end, or you've got a possibility on the other. And the other principle is make your partner look good. What a great thing. So you know on a team that anything anybody says to you, you're going to get a chance to plus that. You're going to get a chance to have that be on the table. And they're going to try and make you look good, not make you look bad. At Pixar, what we mean by plussing is this. You take a piece of work, you take something that you're working on collaboratively, and when it's given to you, you don't judge it. You don't go, oh, this is pretty good. Here's what I'm going to do to make it better. Or this isn't so good. Here's how I'm going to fix it. You say, here's where I'm starting. What can I do with this? How do I plus this? How do I accept the offer and make my partner look good? So at Pixar, we want people who are good at something, not just a little good at it, really good at it. And depth is a great thing. It's, in a sense, the way everybody hires. It's the resume-based hire. You want somebody who really knows that skill. There's a problem with that. Most of the interesting jobs out there fall into this category, whether it's true or not, of being innovative jobs in innovative companies. If you're doing something that's never been done before, well, it's hard to imagine how you can find somebody's resume that shows that they're not only able to do it, but deep in it. NASA had this exact problem when they wanted to hire the first man to walk on the moon. Should have been person, okay. Times are changing. So their first search was this depth-based search. And what they found was there were far too many people who were deep, who were very good. They couldn't use that as a filter. And they realized what they wanted was not merely people who were successful, and in fact, maybe that was exactly what they couldn't afford in their depth-based search. They needed to find people who had failed and recovered. Those who had failed and hadn't recovered were not applying. They weren't around anymore. We're talking about test pilots for the most part. So that filters out one group. So that ended up being the way that the astronaut corps was chosen, was they were looking for people who had not simply avoided failure, but rather those who had seen failure and had figured out how to turn it into something. The core skill of innovators is error recovery, not failure avoidance. So in the depth-based hire, we need something that allows us to look across that success in their depth to see something about their ability in terms of resiliency and adaptability to actually solve a real problem that's never been solved before. So what did we do? Well, of course, we look at their depth in terms of their resume, but we also try and find some parallel that's a predictor of success in that way. And what we've recognized is mastery in anything is a really good predictor of mastery in the thing you want done. If you take a young person who's the best skateboard person that you've ever seen, or the best glass blower, or is really good playing spoons, you're going to find something about that personality if they are truly a master that has set their mind in a way that you can use in your enterprise, whether you're an educator or a business person or both. That sense of, I'm going to get to the top of that mountain, separates them from all of the other candidates almost instantly. And you know, in the high pace of what we do in school and in business, there's very little chance that someone's going to achieve mastery on the job if they didn't get there before coming to your workplace. So you gotta have it in the can, not just I wanna or I wish I or maybe I could. But I've done that. It's one of the great things about the proof of a portfolio versus the promise of a resume. That's one. Two, breadth. Oh my gosh, we certainly don't want one-trick ponies. We certainly don't want narrowness that can sometimes be the thing that you get with depth. What we've got to find is people who are extremely broad. And the predictor there, we want somebody who's more interested than they are interesting. Yeah, anybody can have a pink mohawk and enough piercing so that the wind blows you whistle without pursing your lips. That's interesting and that's easy to get. Interested is tough. That's a real skill, and I'm sure all of you have that sense of somebody in your life who you just always think of when you think, that's the person I want to talk to. Why? Because they're so bright? Yeah, they're bright. But what they do is they amplify me. They give me what I need. I say, I got a problem, and they lean in. They don't say, oh yeah, I got problems too. I bet my problems are more interesting than your problems. No. They want to know what you want to know. They want to know what's bothering you. That notion of breadth also leads to point number 3, communication. Depth, breadth, communication. Communication involves translation. If you are a technician, you're trying to speak to an artist, if you just emit tech, well, we all know what happens. You know, there's a lot of eye rolling, and then we'll try and figure it out later, get somebody to translate that. If you know enough art as a technician to be able to do the translation at the sending end, so it doesn't have to be translated at the receiving end, you may actually be communicating. Communication isn't something that the emitter can measure. I can't say I'm communicating well. They turned the mic on, I think you can hear me. But you can say, I understand. So nobody can declare themselves as being articulate, but a listener can say, I think I got that. I understand what you mean. So people who are interested are much more willing to work on the communication as a destination, not as a source. And breadth, a broad range of experience in the world, is the thing that fuels that. If I've studied art, even though I'm primarily a programmer, I've got an edge. I'm going to be able much more readily to be able to talk to the artists and understand what their issues are. And out of that naturally comes a rekindling of my interest in the things that they're passionate about. Depth, breadth, communication. The most important of these 4 is collaboration. People always say, yeah, collaboration is a great thing. We want lots of that stuff. Well, what do you mean by that? Well, it's a really cooperative kind of a thing. Well, what's the difference? Well, it's like cooperation on steroids. That's collaboration. It's really, really. Now they got to mean different things. Cooperation for us at Pixar is that thing that is a definition of a protocol that allows you not to get in each other's way. Think of an assembly line as the quintessential cooperative activity. The guy that puts the fender on station 1 has to do a good job, and the lady that puts the headlight on in station 2, well, the guy's job on station 1 matters. But in a sense, a cooperative enterprise could in some way be done, as long as you had enough time or other resources, by a single person. Well, I put the fender on, and then I walk down here and I put the headlight on. There's nothing about the way job 1 is done that makes the person doing job 2 better. They can prevent job 2 from being done as well as it could be done. But there's nothing in the process that's optimizing that. Collaboration has to mean something different. It can't be a synonym for cooperation. Collaboration for Pixar means amplification. The amplification you get by connecting up a bunch of human beings who are listening to each other, interested in each other, bring separate depth to the problem, bring breadth that gives them interest in the entire solution, allows them to communicate on multiple different levels, verbally, in writing, in feeling, in acting, in pictures, and in all of those ways finding the most articulate way to get a high fidelity notion across to a broad range of people so they can each pull on the right lever. One of the most amazing things about school is that we have this untapped resource in a sense. Our students are the solution, they're also the problem, but there is an opportunity there if we can find ways of invigorating that leadership on our campuses that some of the problems may get well on their own. And then we can focus on those things that you know are on the table that you have to handle.
For more information on what works in public education, go to edutopia.org.